In a few minutes I'm going to speak to two colleagues of mine, Brian and Mark, and we are going to talk about something called Gatsby. Gatsby is another way of developing websites that makes it extremely fast. It's a bit difficult to understand that you can actually speed up so much that you do not even notice when a page is loading. And in a few minutes you'll understand what Gatsby is and why it is fast, and it is really not that difficult to understand. It is probably the new black gold. Okay, Brian and Mark, we are going to talk about web development and how it has progressed, and we're going to talk about the latest and the greatest, which is called Gatsby, and why it is so blistering fast and why it is quite possibly is the thing of the future, at least for the next couple of years. Now, in the olden days, going back 20 years, 25 years, when you made a website, it was plain HTML pages. You said in Dreamweaver or in front page or whatever you used, create HTML pages, upload them to a website, and then people could access it. Then came CMS systems like, of course, we all know WordPress, Umbraco, Sitecore, whatever they're all called, wherein the content as well as how the pages are built, as the look and feel, are saved in a database. And when someone accesses a web page, it first gets all this information out of the database, creates the HTML page, send it over to the person viewing it, and that is obviously a time-consuming process. We're talking milliseconds here, 1 second, 2 seconds, but still in the world of web development, that's a long time. Now, after that came React. React is also known as a single-page application, wherein when you access a website built in React, like for instance Facebook, when you click a button, a new page comes up almost instantaneously because a big part of the site is being downloaded in the background when you first visit it. React has a huge problem with search engine optimizations. It's going to be too time-consuming to explain why, but it's a really big problem. To solve this, something new came along, which is called Gatsby. Gatsby is basically like React, only they have solved the SEO problems. Now, tell us a little bit about what exactly is Gatsby.
Gatsby is a static website generator. What it basically does is that it generates a complete static version of your website, all the pages, images, CSS, etc. Gatsby is built on top of React.
Okay.
It is a React template.
Okay. So it uses React programming language?
Yes. Okay. So it acts as a single page application which will make your website load instantly without any loading.
Why does it load instantly? Why is it so fast? What happens?
Technically, it's because on a Gatsby environment or on a Gatsby world, right?
Yeah.
Whenever you push some code changes or you update something on the database, it instantly pre-builds an HTML, a complete HTML file.
Okay.
Header, content, sidebar, footer.
Okay.
Which is readily available for the browser.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you don't, when the browser connects to your web server, it does not need any process or any processing.
The page is ready.
Yeah, because the page is ready.
Got you.
Which is why Gatsby is fast.
Okay, got you.
And another thing with that is since it's using progressive web app, right? So Gatsby has this thing called components.
Yes.
They break down the HTML into certain components.
Yeah.
And those components that are not really changing at all, they store it on your browser. So when you view on the next page, they're not going to render anymore those components that are not really changing at all, but rather changing only the part that changed from time to time, from one page to another.
Okay, and then so when you go to a new page, does it actually download the content, or is it already there when you go to there? It's already there. So when you use a Gatsby based or React, let's stay with Gatsby, get the terminologies right here. But when you use Gatsby and you go into the first page, it will begin to download all the other pages. Okay, and that's why it is so blistering fast. You click on the menu item or on a button and poof, immediately. Okay, now what happens when you have, let's say you had a web shop or a dynamic website with data, like you could have a website about, I don't know, stock indexes or something like that constantly updates. How does it get those data? How does that work?
what's gonna happen is that you will use a backend system, a headless CMS, wherein the data will be called via API.
Okay.
And then once, for example, you save and publish, there's a call triggered to the hosting server, which is Netlify, which in Gatsby they offer Netlify offers a Gatsby hosting.
Okay.
But
you could also host somewhere else if you wanted to.
Even in your own web server. Yeah.
So when I guess what I was asking here, let's say you have a website, and let's just take a website about share trading, and you wanted to display, the latest prices for various shares, right? The website is Gatsby, is blistering fast, but the price of the shares are constantly updating. How do you get those over?
Via API.
Yes, it's like when you press save on your backend, right? Because we're aiming to be headless on this journey. When you press save on your backend, it calls an API, connects to the Gatsby server, generate a new HTML, so the data will be fresh again when the browser calls to the web server.
Okay, so basically, the page being generated by Gatsby has the calls to these so-called web services built in. So when that page loads on the browser 5 hours later, the web services will then kick in and pull the data.
Yes.
Is that how it works?
Yes.
So that means that you could technically install your website on a different server than where you manage your content.
Yeah, ideally for security purposes. Exactly. Because we're aiming for the headless type, right? So we can, let's say, the front end or the Gatsby is residing inside the server, and your back end will be on another server.
So if someone hacks their way into the front end server, right, they can't get it all
and
the package.
They cannot put any listener on the Gatsby server because it's just plain HTML. So even if they put any listener on it, they cannot see any any transactions on it.
Okay. Another question here before we wrap up. When we developed Gatsby, is it the same amount of work as it is with a traditional CMS system, or is it more work, or what is it? Similar. Okay, interesting. So this is probably the way things are going to go, at least for the next couple of years, until someone figure something new out, huh?
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much, guys.